Shut up and sit down.
That's awesome.
Hey, it's where the big boys play. SICW.
All right, everybody, welcome to Square Dream Podcast, episode 67, I believe. We'll fix it in post, if not, whatever.
So you're going to have to match your voice with that too. You'll be like, 68, 69.
69, we didn't have a really, really good guest.
Yeah.
Prettier than all of us. I know, Bobby, it's hard to imagine somebody prettier than you.
Can't beat that.
Although, we need to get the guy from the news station that really liked Jim and his sexy black tank top outfit on the news.
Hey, you got to agree with him. That tank top that I was not wearing made me look sexy.
That you got from Mike Bush.
Right. I borrowed it. I had to give it back though.
Well, tell him it's going to be an icon for you now. Need that big sexy tank top.
I need the tank top. Hey,
maybe Big Texan needs to start selling big sexy tank tops. Like that's all it says on it, big sexy tank tops.
That sounds pretty legit. I can probably start doing that.
Big sexy cowbell.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I know we just began, and normally we say this at the end, but I just want to, throw this out there. If you like the Squared Ring podcast, you like what you hear, what you see, please always subscribe, comment, hit the bell so you get the notifications when we're going, and definitely share it because we're still below the 500 that we are trying to get for subscribers. Each week we gain a few, but we're just not there yet. So if you guys can help us out and spread the word, everything would be much obliged. Because definitely, we take time out every week, and don't get me wrong, we love doing this. Mainly just to make fun of Nate, but we love to get together and talk wrestling, talk SICW wrestling, mix in with some WWE and AEW stuff. But we love to talk wrestling, and if you like it, please give us a follow. So just wanted to throw that out there right out of the gate, mainly so I don't forget it at the end of the night.
Yeah, and to add to that, we thank you for the 20,000 views we've gotten on our videos the last week and a half. Keep them coming, guys.
Oh, definitely.
Now if we can get 20,000 subscribers.
Yep, that would be awesome.
Yes, because besides Bruiser Brody on my shoulder, I would love to have one of those YouTube plaques that they give out for when you get so many subscribers and so many views. I think they got a gold one and they got a platinum one, so that'd be kind of awesome to hang out in the office. But anyway, we're coming off.
But they're only going to send one, and there's 3 of us, so here's what I propose when we get there.
We
you two, get in the ring. No, just you two, get in the ring. I'll film it. You guys get in the ring, and then, I'll take it and run, just like Jimmy Hart.
Well, yeah.
We got the footage. I'm out of here.
They did just announce today that Mr. Beast became the #1 subscribed channel on YouTube, though. He overtook that Korea company finally.
Really? It's been a hit and miss because he'll go up and then they'll go up and but he's got so many freaking channels. He doesn't just have one. He has a lot of channels. So it's kind of crazy, but I find myself watching his channel every now and then because the stuff he does is just crazy. The last video I watched of his, he bought a grocery store, and he was paying like a guy like $10,000 a day to stay in there, and they had like an outline around the grocery stores that he couldn't leave, and then he had to sell him like $1,000 worth of stuff every day. So, he had to stay in there as long as possible, but he had to sell food items, so he had to sell enough, but keep enough in the store so he can last another day. It got pretty crazy, but the guy walked out with a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Jimmy though, Jimmy's production last time, hearing about anything from him, they were up around 2.5 million per video for his production.
Hey, they got teams. We have Nathan. Nathan, you need to get a team.
Well, we were
20,000 subscribers, and he'll get one.
we were starting to build a team, and then things happen, and I flake out.
Well,
No, I just go out of town.
we need.
That's why we didn't have a podcast last week, is because Bobby and I were busy trying to run down Big Jim because he was running off to Florida because he, when you go to get a sex change, those appointments are pretty well set. They didn't like Jim running out, so we had to go track him down and bring him in. So look for that Big Jim with the pink cowboy hat.
I didn't know I released that information. You must have been searching my emails, didn't you?
It's an internet deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It had to be a deep dive. Anyhow, now that Nathan's got us all off a topic, we are coming off of probably one of the best weekends that SICW's ever had. And I say ever had because this is the first time that we've ever done it, but it's also the first time I think any wrestling company has done it. And that's the MELEE in the Midway. I hope I pronounced that
so
right.
close.
I say, or the Melee on the Midway.
Damn it.
That was pretty cool, too.
Yeah. All right.
I just went to, I always say go to Herb's page if you want to see pictures and everything. Just went to his Facebook page. First thing I see here is Tella smashing someone with a chair.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to that later. So the best weekend of wrestling, I think, that we've had, besides the Fan Fest, because the Fan Fest is pretty up high there, but we partnered with NASCAR over this past weekend. So they had the trucks racing, and of course Sunday they had the actual NASCAR, but I think they called it the Illinois 300. So throughout the day there was a little bit of rain here and there, and kind of got us a little bit. Nathan's got film of that, but I just kind of want to overview the day. So we get there, we got our own little private suite. We got our own golf cart. Man, I can't talk today. Carts that was running us down the track back and forth, and of course we're in the suites. Actually, where Ludacris was, because Ludacris was on the floor above us, but running us back and forth to the wrestling ring and to where our staging was. Man, they had so much stuff going on besides the racing. If you ever walked down that track, they had so much different kinds of food, so many kinds of alcoholic drinks. They had car shows going on, and I know they had dynos out there that you can test your vehicle. It was crazy. And then, I don't know about you guys, but anytime you went near the track, you had to have, something covering your ears because that shit was so loud. And so fast. I got footage of it too, but it surprises me how fast and how it's like whoo, 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 just right in front of your eyes, and then a few seconds later they're back. They went around the track that fast, But yeah, so hopefully this will not be the last time. I've heard nothing but good reviews, and I've talked to the promoter today, Herb Simmons, and he said he's got nothing but good reviews. And even at one point, I ended up having two matches, but at the end of one of them, my singles match, I retained my championship, and I was holding it up in the air. And
no result. You can't say result.
Well, they can. The reason why I'm just saying this is because the owner of the track was watching. And when I stood up and held my championship up in the air, the owner of the track stood up out of the crowd and held his hands up the same way I was doing it. That just shows that the owner of the track and his executives loved the wrestling, and there's
Curtis
already
loved you.
talks. There's already talks about us coming back. So I mean that's just proof that's in the pudding that SICW wrestling is like the best in the Midwest. We of course, I can't say we don't have friends in other organizations because Jason Jones from Mid States, he was with us, helping us. We were using his guardrails, and he was actually our announcer for that evening. Um, and I'll just throw this out there. It's kind of a downside, but our beloved Dr. Drew, his mother passed away that Saturday that we were out there wrestling. Dr. Drew, if you're watching this when this comes out, Godspeed. I hope I hope good things come your way, because I really don't know what to say, because I've lost a parent too, and it sucks. And I just hope you find a way to move on. And it's hard to say that because you never really truly move on, because I still think of my father to this day. But I just hope you start feeling better. She's in a better place. She was, had cancer and was dealing with that for a long time. So, Dr. Drew, like I said, sorry, and I hopefully when this airs, you start, feeling better. I don't know how else to put it, but so besides that, yeah. So I've just heard nothing but good reviews. Now there was a downpour, and the start. There was two sessions. We did a morning session, which kind of went off. Kind of went off great. We had three matches. Of course, I don't want to give out any of the results, even though I just already fumbled and give out one of mine. But the rain stayed away for those three matches, and it went off like hook, sink, and we went to break. We all went back to our little rooms that we had. Was actually getting in line for food. Me and Nathan, I know. Bobby, were you with us at that point?
Yep.
Yeah. So. We were there to try to sample some of this good food that that we heard about, and I got a call while I was in line, said, "Hey, we got 20 minutes. We're going back out there for round number 2." What it was is the rain had came in, and they weren't able to start the race back up like they thought they would. So they were going to use us to buy them some time and buy them some rain time as well.
So they're
Unfortunately,
supposed to be drying the track.
right. Unfortunately, and Nate, you can cue this up. It did not go that way. So we got a tag match going on with the professionals, and then Joey and gosh, who did he tag with? I can't think of his name. I know I'm going to
Billy
see him in a
McNeil.
second. Billy McNeil, yes. And I'm sure Nathan will be able to blow this up later, but it was just pouring in the middle of this match, and it got so crazy.
And there's a picture that Sean had posted where there's raindrops you could see all across, like because they fell in front of his black singlet.
Well, you can see it clear on here. It's just on the little screen that you guys are watching. You can't.
Okay. But yeah, so you can cut off the footage. It was pouring down during this match, and it actually caused us to pause the second session. I think we paused for a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I think, somewhere around there.
All I know, it was uncomfortable under that little tiny thing with a whole bunch of people squeezed in together.
Well, our tent was actually pretty big. and then it had plenty of alcohol in there too. We didn't touch it because it was Ludacris's. He had a whole bunch of high-end whiskey and different stuff in there. But
You didn't. You guys didn't need to touch it. Fans were bringing you bottles
that was
all freaking day.
that was after the show. We're good boys. We didn't touch anything during the show while we were going on. About after 30 or 45 minutes, it dried up. I wouldn't say the ring dried up, but it stopped raining. The fans, actually stood there in the rain and waited. Some of them scurried off, but as soon as the rain stopped and we announced we were continuing, they all came back in droves. And, it was just crazy because there's so many people at the racetrack. And at that particular time, if you weren't in line for food or drinks, you were watching the wrestling.
Well, I got it from the finance guy at the track that a little over 20,000 people were there during the wrestling, and I don't know, I didn't count, but it was standing room all the way back to Ludacris's tent and all the way over to the food concessions, and it was good crowd.
It was definitely a great time because, yes, we ended up finishing the second session of wrestling, and then we went back and changed and got into drier clothes and finally got our food and then we were getting set for the rest of the race and then the Ludacris concert. So we me, the wife, and I think someone else came up with us, and we watched a little bit of the race.
Well, Jason was there, Jason's wife.
Yeah.
Some of
Jason
Nick's,
Simmons.
some of Nick's crew was there.
Yeah, so back in the day, when Dale Earnhardt was out there racing, I would sit in the front room with my father, and we would watch the races. My father was a big Dale Earnhardt fan, but after his passing, I kind of fell out of it. Father still watched it, but that was the first time I watched a race in a very long time.
I was
So it's
shocked
kind of
because
cool.
I've never watched a lot of NASCAR. I was shocked they didn't even redraw his 3. Like, it's still the exact same logo from when he was alive. I thought they would have changed it up a little bit.
I mean, it was definitely cool, definitely loud, definitely fast. So it was all the big things. But Ludacris came on early since the race kind of finished up early, and you know, poor Nate was stuck there watching it because I was his ride, and you can tell he was not digging it. But it was all right to me.
Yeah, I like his music for the most part. It's just the time before when I talked to him, he was a pain in the ass. Everything was in third person. At least this last Saturday, he was a lot more mellow. Maybe because he's older, but he no third person bullshit. And although he's probably mad because we have a bona fide celebrity on the podcast tonight with Bobby D down there in front row, Ludacris, and the women were yelling for Bobby, pissing off his wife.
Well, I mean, it's beautiful Bobby D. He doesn't have that name for a reason. It's because he's beautiful. So if you guys don't know, Bobby was actually, in the heat of things with all the fans watching Ludacris, but yet he was having to take pictures and sign autographs and everything because everyone turned around and realized Bobby D was in the audience, and they just fan mugged him and totally ignored Ludacris singing. And this is actually true. This is
Yeah, it's actually true. We're not taking the piss out of him. It's actually true. Yelling at him from 4 rows back, Bobby.
And at the same time, I'm just getting handed beer after beer. At one point, I had to start setting them down because I couldn't drink them faster than I was getting them. So that was always kind of nice because I always
You could have
tend to
thrown him
drink
my
after
way.
the matches. Well, you were up there, getting fan hounded. I was sitting back and just getting a good buzz on. So
I was sitting back behind all the sheriff's deputies, sitting down against the wall, just listening to a bunch of non-finished music.
But so that was Saturday, and it was a great day, even though it rained a little bit. And then NASCAR finished up Sunday, and they had no rain on Sunday, and they were able to get everything done Sunday. And Sunday would have been a great day for us to come up there too, because they had Big and Rich, and they had a whole bunch of other country artists.
Dixie Chicks.
They had T-Bone with the headliner.
Yeah. Well, I heard from the owner of the track that next year they want to have you guys on the main day, on Sunday, not Saturday.
Yes.
At least that's what I heard directly from his mouth, his skinny little short mouth. He's actually shorter than I am.
I heard that too, but there's also a chance that still later this year he might have us back, not for a NASCAR, but for an Indy Cup race that they do later this year. I think in September.
Yeah, it's September, and that's one I would be excited for because I am an Indy fan. So.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You're an Indy wrestling fan, Indy Cup racing fan. I see the connection there. So it's all good there.
That one I just may see be just like, let's go on the pits.
Me and Bobby actually got to go in the pits for a split second or two. Herb had made us get on this golf cart with him, and so we can do a split second. It's another podcast that we'll probably reach out to and talk to him probably down the line. But there's a guy representing that podcast there, and he had us just shout out the name of the podcast and give our podcast out too. So we're going to try to spread some fans and try to share the wealth here with them. So it sounds pretty cool. But then he dragged
I want to
us
interject something here really quick. For those who have made it this far, I want to make something really clear. We may only have 385 subscribers right now, but A-lister wrestlers, they watch our podcast and our footage, our other footage that we put out. Owners of billion-dollar companies watch our podcast. And it's all because of the two big superstars right there. Big Jim and Bobby D.
Bobby.
Not you two guys. And everywhere they go, they are just like little movie stars here in the Midwest. So if you find our podcast organically, thank you. But welcome to the family. And give Bobby and Jim and Big Texan the due they get secretly from everybody. And our podcast secretly from everybody.
Just recently I did a podcast with a guy from New York. And then I've been a frequent on a podcast from a guy from Florida. And a lot of the SICW stars have been going to this guy in Florida. And then he's secretly asked me for information about them, so like Steve Fender was on the podcast on this guy in Florida for a while. Huge Pop podcast is the one in Florida. And so I'll feed him some tidbits. And then Papa Dink was the guy up in New York. And, of course, he came to the Fan Fest. He was there, did a little interview with me there at the Fan Fest. And he's doing a podcast and vlogs, I think is what they call it. So kind of spreading the name around, the Squared Ring podcast and the Big Texan, getting that all out there. Because you always, I say this to any wrestler that comes on here, or I speak to it to all my trainees, that once you start getting some matches on your belt and you can start speaking for yourself, the best thing to do is get on a podcast. Especially if it's an area that you want to go to, So, like, if you want to start wrestling in Florida, or you know you're going to be out in Florida in a month or two, hop on a guy's podcast down there, get seen. If they got a good following, most of the podcasts are like us, where they follow one main promotion. Of course, they might talk about the big three, um, but they still mainly talk about one promotion in that area. You get on a podcast, you get seen, so when you actually debut in that area, you've already got a fan base. You got people interested in watching your first match or your matches down there because they already know about you, because they heard you or seen you on the podcast. And it's always good when fans know a little bit more about you besides your wrestling abilities, or they just seem like they're more than just fans when they know a little bit more insider scoop on you. So it's the
Yeah,
best thing to do is
yeah,
hop on a podcast.
and to prove what Jim is saying, a few wrestlers from this area that came on our podcast, other promotions do watch and signed a contract with them. Well, contract with them
Yes.
to for bookings. Had they not come on, they would not have gotten those bookings.
And same thing. I've got, and I'm sure Bobby's got it too. We got an open door policy for mid states, and we have always got an open door policy for New Breed Wrestling and ACW Wrestling, and we like that. We like working with other organizations. SICW is our home base, but our promoter, loves the old territory systems where you can just call up another territory and say, hey, I want to borrow a few of your wrestlers. I'll send a couple of mine down. We can rotate through the wrestlers, and that's how wrestlers used to make a living, because you can't make a living wrestling if you're only wrestling once a month. You got to be able to wrestle a few times a week and work the different areas to actually make a living out of it.
Yeah, you mentioned Mid States. They actually just posted my match on their season 2, episode 11, 3 days ago.
There you go. So I mean, it's just the power of the podcast. A lot of people say there's no money in podcasts, and there's not when you're first starting out. You got to build up that fan base, build up that subscribers, and like I said, that's why we're asking. If you just came across this podcast, please, subscribe and share it so we can start getting more wrestlers out there, more wrestlers on here. It's been a while since we had a featured guest, so I'm going to work on that and try to get one lined up in the next couple of weeks. And like I said, we need to build this system, kind of like how the NWA is doing it right now. They're pushing this back to the territories. They have one in Iowa now. They have one in Tennessee. They have one in Florida. I'm sure WLW is kind of set up to be like that because, and that's World League Wrestling, Harley Race's group. Because their NWA is now featuring a lot of the Harley Race guys in his organization now. They haven't been really declared a territory yet, but I'm sure it's in the works. And more power to them. I always say that. I have good things about the NWA. I have some shitty point of views on the NWA. I really love their new TV show. It's like Billy Corgan's. It's a behind the scenes look at his organizations, and it really opens your eye to a lot of things. Because we always talk about how they have low attendance, and I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Well, in this TV special, it shows that he knew and knows that they got low attendance, and he had a person whose job was to go out there and try to bring fans in, but he wasn't doing his job, so he hired two other guys, and evidently they're not really doing too well either. But it's not just the NWA. I seen a post today on AEW that AEW is finally trying to cut costs now, and they're not trying to have all these giant displays and stuff on their stage. kind of like the WWE does, where their stage, for every pay-per-view is some extravagant, scenery, and so AEW knows that they kind of spent a little too much money on these last couple of people, and so they're finally going to start cutting costs and trimming people, some wrestlers. Um, they just trimmed. His name is All Ego, Ethan Page.
Ethan Page.
Yeah, and he just showed up on NXT, um, which they haven't announced if he signed with WWE or if he actually went back to TNA where he was actually wrestling before AEW, because now TNA is kind of working with the WWE, because Jordan Grace, I think that's her name, she's like the TNA Women's Champion, but yet she's going to challenge for the NXT Women's title at the next pay-per-view. So they're going to do some trading back and forth, kind of like what we just talked about the territories. It's Triple H did that when Vince McMahon was still on the top of it. Still the owner of the company. Triple H dabbled a couple times in some other organizations, not wrestling, but he would show up, get on their stage, and talk about this is a great place for wrestling. And of course, eventually they would pull some of the guys out of that group and bring them up to the WWE. But it seems like everyone's kind of spreading the wealth right now, and I think that's what's making wrestling great again.
Well, there's that picture Bobby was talking about. Looks like Attila's spreading the wealth all over your back.
Well, yeah. So,
But look at those. Look at that crowd. Look at the heads. It goes all the way back to the concessions where it starts.
yeah. I mean, that was definitely a crazy, crazy match. I won't get into too details, but we did have Bob Orton in our corner. It was me and Gary versus Attila and Peyton. And of course, Steven E was out there. And things got a little bit more physical than they should have. But you'll have to stay tuned because I'm sure SICW Explosion will air it, and then we'll air it as well. But it was a great match. And anytime you have a WWE Hall of Famer / St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Famer in your corner, things always seem to go well. But yeah, so I mean, it was just, that's a going backwards, but it was a great event.
Yeah, but it takes me a bit to get going sometimes.
Yeah, I see that. But I tell you, let's top out the next show, because the next show is going to be important for us because we're actually switching venues. And a lot of times, a wrestling organization, when they stick to one particular building, like we have for a while, which is the Belleville Fairgrounds, that they're under construction. So the next venue is actually the Fireman's Hall in Collinsville. And that next show.
I guess I get into the giveaway there. I got it pulled up with all of Herb's word in here.
Okay, so the next show, and change it if I'm wrong, but I believe it's July 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, July 6th, Collinsville, the Fireman's Hall. And
9510 Collinsville Road in Collinsville.
And the kind of help our fans, who love wrestling, Herb Simmons is doing a giveaway. And Bobby, go ahead and take it.
It's a trip to Las Vegas for the California Alley Club. It will include airfare, hotel stay, along with your CAC banquet ticket. Not just yours, but you'll be able to take a guest as well. Responsible for transportation to and from the airport and any baggage fees. That's the only thing you have to pay. That's a steal.
Right. So you're talking, the CAC ticket right now is $150. So that's $300 right there because you get to bring a guest.
Yep.
And then the hotel, it's 3 days, 2 nights. So it's a hotel for 2 nights in Las Vegas. So you're looking at least $200, $300 there. So now you're looking at $600. And then the hotel, I mean, not the hotel, but the plane ride. Planes, plane tickets right now are crazy. So you're probably looking at another, $400 there. Because I was on it today looking up for Vegas. And, if you don't take a cheap plane ride, the normal price is $179 round trip. So that's $400 right there for just one person. So you're on a worst day, on a great day for them, you're thinking it's about $1,000 is what they're going to spend on you and your guest to go to Vegas and have a ball with us, with everyone that's there. It's like I said, it's 3 days of just great times. You got the Vegas Strip that you can walk through and go to, or take a cab to the main Vegas Strip and see all the sights there. But you got what they
Fremont Street.
it's the Bologna Blowout. But who
Nick Boswinkel Bologna Blowout.
yeah, the Ballwinkle Bologna Blowout, which is just everyone getting together, and they do the first night is some awards and some presentations are being handed out, and then we all get together and eat, and then the next day they have like a whole day where you get to mingle. They might have some seminars. Our own Gary Jackson is being inducted that night too. Um, and
It's been a
Herb
good year for
Simmons.
him, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great year for him. But Herb Simmons is going to be the speaker or the inductor for Gary Jackson. Um, so I mean, it's just an awesome night there. And I want to say I might be getting this wrong, but I think Kurt Angle is there this time.
He was just announced.
Yeah. So you get to meet Kurt Angle. Last year was CM Punk. He was the headliner. We always talked about the Nasty Boys because they just gave a great induction speech. Not that CM Punk's wasn't a great induction because that thing was pretty hilarious. And, I didn't know CM Punk was a Harley guy. But the stories he told about Harley were awesome. And so it's going to be kind of cool to meet Kurt Angle this year. And of course, it's more than just one, so it's a whole bunch of wrestlers that come in for this reunion. Our good friend Haku is there every year. Cowboy Bob Orton's there every year. So it's just a great time. So you have an opportunity to win 2 tickets to this event when you come to our next show, July 6th. Man, it's just you can't ask for a better chance there. Not having to spend $1,000. I think if it costs money to enter this thing, I'm going to throw down some too, just to see if I can get my stuff taken care of. But
What are you going to say, Bobby?
I said, and you're going to see great wrestling. Let's not forget about that.
yeah, and there's a chance you might get to see some SICW wrestlers wrestling this year. It's a chance.
I meant at the July 6th show.
Oh, yeah. But we're working out to see if we can get some SICW wrestling down there in Vegas. So that'll be really cool.
Well, I hope on July 6th you have some wrestling.
That's July 6th. And then, we're packed the rest of the year. But I'm going to hit this other one. So also in July, that is the Luthez George Thegus. I think I said his last name right. The Hall of Fame out in Waterloo, Iowa. And that's first before we hit the CACs, because the CAC is in August. But Iowa is another reunion show. Where the CAC, that is to give back to the wrestlers. If you are in medical need or if someone is injured and they have hospital bills or can't make their house payment. Again, we said it many a times. They didn't have a retirement plan for wrestlers back in the 80s. So the CAC is to help them. Where the Waterloo, Iowa, that is a Hall of Fame. So CAC has their own awards, but Iowa has the actual Hall of Fame, and that's pro wrestling and regular wrestling. And it's a great time too. I went there last year for the first time. I was able to do a battle royal. I was able to meet the legends that they bring in, because they don't bring in like Herb did, 50 or even close to 70 this time, but they do bring in close to like 20, 25 legends that come in the house, and some of them interact into the wrestling show as well. But there's a fancy dinner that they do when they hand out the inductions for whoever's going into the Hall of Fame. And it's kind of cool to be sitting there all fancied up, watching legends get inducted. And there's always time for you to meet them. So, like after the awards last year, they all stuck around. No one just, skipped out of the ballroom and hopped in a plane and left. They all hung out, shared some drinks, shared some stories. Um, Bill DeMott was awesome. He was one of them last year that got inducted, and it was just a great time. So that one is actually coming up first, also in the month of July, and then we got the CIC in August. So those are two great places to go if you want to make some wrestling connections, or if you want to watch some great wrestling. It's two great times. But July 6th starts it out. Like I said, Collinsville, Fireman's Hall, July 6th. So that's going to be a great day to start off the new era for us, because we're going to actually be wrestling there for a few months before Belleville gets the fairgrounds get fixed up enough that we can come back home. So definitely come out to the Fireman's Hall. All right, I feel I talked enough. All right, what you guys got to talk about?
Well,
I was
don't
just gonna.
forget. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was gonna say, like, we already touched on it, but like, what this could mean, like, between Impact and WWE working together, doing a joint show, like that hasn't been done in a long time.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy because I can't see like WWE sending out like a CM Punk or Cody Rhodes down to Impact / TNA, because they're actually called TNA again. Um, I can't see them doing that, but I can see the other way around. I can see their guys moving over to WWE and help. I wouldn't say helping WWE, because they're basically helping themselves. The more popularity that or more people that get to see the TNA superstars, it's going to be better for them. Because TNA, I would almost say they're right around the same way as the NWA. I would say you still got WWE, then you got AEW, and then you got like three of them that kind of hang at the same level. You got the NWA, you got TNA, and you got another smaller little group, GCW. I think is making great headways in wrestling. Because Matt Cardona is always there. He's been the champion. Now I think he's doing like a commissioner role there, but it's bringing a lot of eyes. So it's a good way for WWE, because NXT is pretty much their own brand now. So really, does WWE have a farm system? Not really. Because as soon as you make it to NXT's roster, you basically are on the show. So if they working with TNA, they can kind of pick some more people up, and work back and forth. So it'd definitely be great for them.
And I could see AJ Styles going down and doing an Impact or a TNA show.
Definitely.
Because
He's
they're
been
still
a world
history.
champion. I think he's actually won every belt in TNA that is possible.
I say
He was
he's
the
got a
X Division
ton of
champion.
history. He's been. I mean, he was there. He went from WCW as Air Styles. So as soon as they closed down, he went there with Sting.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So it's just great things that can happen. And you know, AEW, like I said, they had an open door policy too with New Japan, where they, Moxley is holding some sort of championship over there. So they've been bringing competitors from over there to AEW broadcasting so they can show their belt getting defended by other people. So a lot of companies are kind of opening that, per se, forbidden door and letting people go through. You know, NWA's been doing that for a while now. They've let their guys go to AEW and let their guys go to other local promotions. Um, so everyone, I think, right now is kind of working with each other or working with other companies at least. Which brings me up to the fact that there's going to be four WWE guys kind of could be leaving. They might resign, but there's four people that their contracts are either expired or about to expire. Chad Gable is one of them. Now, he's actually in a storyline right now, so I can't imagine him being let go or not re-signed. Becky Lynch, you know, she is like one of she's basically their top female superstar. She is actually, her contract is expired. Um, I can't imagine her, going to AEW with her husband still being in the WWE. But it's not like that doesn't happen because, you got Buddy. I can't think of his last name, but he's in AEW and his girlfriend is the girl from the
Rhea Ripley.
Judgment Day. Yeah, Rhea Ripley. So I mean, it does happen, but I can't imagine WWE letting her go.
So the fan rumor or speculation that I read that makes the most sense to me is Seth Rollins is out for like a year, or maybe he's about to be out for like a year, just kind of let his body heal and recover. That she's just going to take the year and they'll spend it at home with the kids and whatnot, and then come back next year's WrestleMania or SummerSlam.
And that makes sense too, because her body probably needs to heal too. They just had the daughter not too long ago, um, and just think of one parent being on the road. Just imagine both parents being on the road. Now, granted, they were both at least on Raw, so they can go together. But yeah, you don't want to miss too many of the firsts. The first steps, the first crawl, and the first words. I mean, I think the daughter's probably like 3 or 4 now, so it's been a few years. But it's time that you want to be with your kids. Natalia Neidhart is another one. It's about to expire, which the Hart Dynasty, they've been with WWE forever. So I really doubt she would ever leave or go to AEW or anything like that. And then Ricochet. Now, Ricochet, I kind of wish would leave WWE and go to AEW. But that's just for my own personal stuff because I really think WWE has mishandled Ricochet. I mean, he is a great talent, and I don't think his talent's being used too good in WWE. I think he would have so many good matches in AEW. I think they would allow his star to shine a lot brighter. But the money is probably really good at WWE, so it's kind of hard for him to say I won't resign. But man, just the matches he could have in AEW, I think would be so great. What do you got there? Is that a picture of the parade?
That is a picture of the parade of the Shriners at Metro East.
There we go. So nice little segue in. So I'm going to be the Grand Marshal of this parade this Friday here in Belleville. It's the Shriners Parade. It's this Friday. I'll be, I think I'm the lead car. I should have my Shriners Championship with me. So, I'll be waving, and I'll have some family members on the outside throwing some candy for you guys. Of course, Bobby, he told us that he's in this parade too. And I'll let you talk to him about your thing.
I'll be driving my awesome orange truck. Driving for the Little Devils. We'll have kids out there handing out flyers, candy, whatnot. Wrestling, football, and cheer. We need them all. Always need more kids.
Definitely. So if you're in the Belleville area Friday, I think the parade actually starts at 7:30. Um, and get your little ones lined up, and definitely. I'm not permitted to leave the car. I'm sure Bobby's probably not permitted, but we have people on the outside that will be handing out candy. Because I already got told the rules that we can't throw candy from the car; that we have to have people actually go and hand it out to you. But man, I remember back in the day when I was a kid, they would just launch candy, and that was the big thing there. It's just the scramble to pick up as much candy as you can, from the other kids around you. So, but
Yeah,
I get
back
it,
in the 70s and 80s, we weren't a bunch of wimps. They used to be on the floats and just toss that shit out.
and it's true. I mean, you're much older than me. I'm talking about the early '90s when I was a kid. Well, early, who's to say, late '90s when I was a kid growing up.
Late 90s.
But yeah, so that's this Friday, so that's kind of cool. Gonna have my granddaughter in my car with me, which is like she's been my number one supporter forever. Um, I think she's the one that's going to be the next generation of wrestlers because she's always been talking about that she wants to be a girl wrestler. Um,
Well,
you
I
know,
have it on from a reliable source that you're her 150 favorite wrestler, and Bobby's 151.
right,
I'm working my way up the chart.
right, and that's not like 150 wrestlers, and I happen to be 150. I am her 150 top wrestler. So like I'm number one through 150, and Bobby's 151. So that makes it even better. So she'll be in the car with me. Definitely gonna have her out there, and she'll be waving. And everyone who comes to a wrestling show, she's always there. Uh, she was there Saturday too. She didn't make it out for the wrestling, but she made it out for the Ludacris and stuff like that. It's just surprising, but I got pictures that she was still zonked out when we were still wrestling. So as soon as she woke up, then they took her out here. But man, so much great things are happening in the world of wrestling, and I hope.
Especially with Bobby D and the Little Devils. He doesn't promote himself enough, but as a coach of the Little Devils, Bobby is producing some of the best wrestlers in the nation, not just the Midwest. So if you're in this area and you want to get into wrestling, even if it's just collegiate wrestling, you need to go down and see Bobby at the Little Devils.
Or even football. I've gone there and seen some football games too, and that's always a great time. Matter of fact, the last football game, I got recognized, and they started playing my theme music over the loudspeakers. So it's a great time.
I
Beer's
told you,
cold,
there's celebrities in the Midwest, guys.
and the action is live on the field. So, but
Well,
yeah, so
next week I head to Philly for my son. He's wrestling, who races a little devil wrestler, representing Team Illinois. So we'll see if I get recognized out there.
Philadelphia, huh?
Yep. Oaks.
That
You
is
will.
awesome.
We're flying into Philadelphia, but he's wrestling in Oaks, Pennsylvania.
Man, that is awesome. That's a hotbed for wrestling. You might want to look up a wrestling joint and maybe take him to it, and then catch a wrestling show out there. I don't know how much time you got. Most of the time, parents don't have time for anything extra.
I would say he's wrestling 4 days straight, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, see, it's
I
all
know, no,
time
Tuesday
crunch.
through Friday.
And I'm sure he's got to cut weight and everything like that, so you can't really go out and eat a good dinner. Maybe on the last day, when the weight doesn't matter anymore. But I know how it is. It's just pain in the butt. You got all that time. You got to hit, and it's kind of like our wrestling on Saturday. It's a hurry up and wait. Like you hurry up and get there, and then you got to wait. And they're like, oh, you got 20 minutes, so you hurry up and get down to the wrestling show, and then well, then it rained, so we had a 45-minute wait. So it's one of those things.
Then what's funny,
With
going
his
from the
wrestling,
suites all the way to the to where the wrestling mat was, when you have that little tiny time and there's none of the guys were around in the carts to drive us, and you're hoofing it. Then you get down there, you're sweating because you were hurrying to get down there, and it's like, oh yeah, in another 30 minutes we'll be ready to go.
with his wrestling, you have to watch what's called track wrestling on your phone. You're already at the place, and when it tells you a mat number, you're in the hole, which means there's 2 matches ahead of you. One of those are already wrestling. Be there and be ready to get on there as soon as it's time. Could be
Wow.
30 seconds. It could be 10 minutes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Here's something about my past. I don't like anybody knowing really much a lot about me. But when I wrestled, when we would cut weight, and on that last day, we would just go out and eat and have eating competitions, put bets on who's going to eat the most. And we would go to Round Table Pizza, and we'd sit there, okay, who's going to eat the most large pizzas? And we'd sit there for hours, and they would let us. So.
That just sounds like you guys are going to puke the next day.
How do you
Yeah.
think they cut it back off?
Yep. Temporary weight gain.
Oh,
It was
my
a
God.
win-win.
That's pretty much the week in wrestling. We got I got a couple other spot shows I'm going to try to do. This is the month of June, so most of the people in the Midwest, their wrestling license expire. So you got to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted to make sure you get your license renewed in time. But I've already started working on mine, so I should have mine done by the time another spot show comes up. And then we just got word that we're going back to the Soho apartments that we did last year, and that was a great show. But you got to have a license to wrestle there. So that was a great time. Bobby, you were there last time, right?
Yep.
Yeah. These are fancy, and I say the apartments, but these are high dollar apartments that they're all doctors or kids that have rich parents and they're in town for school or something. Because we went up to the gym and worked out at the gym, and the gym is amazing, and they got hand painted drawings of Hulk Hogan and the Undertaker on the walls. So they definitely, it's a wrestling place.
We
We wrestled
changed
there
in an
last
indoor
year.
bowling alley.
Yeah, they had their own bowling alley, their own basketball court, their own movie theater. This is high end. And last year they brought us out there, and which is crazy because there's another promotion on the same street. I won't mention names, but they didn't invite them. They invited us from across the river to come there. But that's why everyone's got to have licenses to wrestle there. But it was a great time last year, and I'm sure it's going to be a great time this year. So that's a little further down. We'll mention the dates when it comes closer. But
Yep, time to wrap it up. But before we go, real quick, anybody who has a youngster that wants to get into wrestling and think about getting into wrestling and football, like Jim said, go see Bobby D at the Little Devils. Anybody who's over 18, it's just over 18, right, Jim, to join the Ace Academy?
yep.
18 or over, you think you have what you have what it takes to be a wrestler, a professional wrestler. Go down and see the Big Texan at the Ace Academy in East Condolet, Illinois. You'll be trained by some of the best on both aspects.
On the Ace Academy, you can go to Ace Academy on Facebook. There's a phone number you can call. Don't really like people just popping in, but if you give us a call, we'll set up a time for you to come in, and we'll give you the rundown over the phone. give you the rundown, and have you sign your life away once you get there. And then we'll see if you got what it takes. I know you said we were going to cut it off, but I do want to. I haven't done any eBay stuff in a while, but
How could you? You guys have been busy as hell.
right. But my wife actually, she looks at Facebook Marketplace all the time, and she actually seen some ECW stuff up there. So got some cool stuff here. This is Tommy Dreamer. It's actually autographed. I don't know if it's legit or not, but
I know your frames are dropping though. You might want to move a bit slower.
The guy who sold it to me said it when ECW came to Collinsville one year, and they only did it once. That he was able to meet Tommy Dreamer and got this signed. And from the same guy, I got a little Lance Storm. Now, I always talk about the LJNs, but I actually had all the ECW wrestlers as well. So it's kind of nice just to pick up one of them here and there. And Lance Storm was such an underrated wrestler. But he was
100%.
such a great wrestler. You know, him and Chris Jericho, when they teamed in the Smoky Mountains, I mean, they were undeniable. I mean, that was a great tag team. And from the same guy, I got a little part of DX. You know, Road Dogg Jesse James and Badass Billy Gunn. So I got them as well. And it was just a package deal. And just a guy who was just cleaning out his closets and decided he was going to sell some of the stuff. So definitely picked up on those. I did try to win an eBay thing. Well, actually, not win it. I've been talking about the LJNs where they have the 4-inch and the 8-inch. Well, I'm down to one 4-inch wrestler, and then I have that whole line completed, and that was Bobby the Brain Heenan. And there's one guy was selling. Get this, it's like 11 of them. I've already got the other 10, so I just need the Bobby the Brain. So on eBay, he's not doing an auction for it. He's just trying to sell it outright. So for those 11, he wanted $92, right? Which is not a bad deal because most of them are like on a good day you get them for $10 a piece. But I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, I just need the Bobby the Brain," and he messaged me back. He goes, "Oh, I'll take $65 for it." So 11 of them, he'll sell it to me for 92, but for just one, he'll sell me that one for 65. I'm like, whatever, buddy. I think you're just trying to hook a stupid person in, so that ain't happening. But if
He thought you were a fish.
right? If anyone's out there and has the 4-inch Bobby the Brain Heenan, they call them the Bendies, the LJN Bendies. Let me know, and maybe we can come together and make an offer on that. But
So anybody out there have 4 inches for Big Jim? He'll make you an offer.
correct. Yeah.
You in Vegas.
If it's longer than 4 inches, that's too much. But
I'll see you
anyway,
in Vegas.
Straight from the mouth, people.
it's kind of like I think Bobby at one point in time had a shirt that said that I'm huge in China or I'm huge in Japan or something like that.
It had a wiener dog, and it said, "My wiener is huge in Japan."
On that note, again, if you like what
Hello,
you hear,
all of our
see
Japanese fans.
Me too.
if you like what you hear, see here, you know, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment, hit that bell, so anytime we go, you'll get notified that we're on. And just come and hang out with us. Pretty soon, I'm sure once we reach the 500 subscribers, then we're going to probably decide that it's time to probably go live and you know, interact with our fans a little bit more because that's what our goal is to interact with everyone. But we need to get that first marker. So if you guys could help us out, We're just going to try to get bigger and better.
Yeah.
Just like
Considering the promoter of SICW wants us to go live, but all our contention has always been get to that 500 threshold before we go live. So
yeah, the studio's already been opened up and offered. We just want to get to that plateau first, before we move on to bigger and better things. So we want to get there, so please come and help us. But on that note, from the Squared Ring Podcast, my name is Big Texan. Over there is Bobby D and Nasty Nate. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Adios.
Right, everybody.